So hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Jones. I'm Deputy Head of School for Adult Learning at the Keystone School, and I'm here with Miranda today to tell us about the career that she has. So Miranda, first of all, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it. And why don't you just start off by introducing yourself and just tell us what it is that you do?
All right, so I'm Miranda. I am a radiologic technologist, or an Xray Tech, a little bit easier term that more people know. Currently, I actually work in a pain management office, so I do X-rays during back injections, actually.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not the kid coming into the ER with a broken arm or something like that. It's a more specialized thing, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what led you to this career? What made you interested in it?
My whole life I knew I wanted to work in the medical field. I just didn't know what. So I actually went to school. I was a pre-med major for a year, and that led me to be able to explore a lot of different options within the fields. And X-ray is one that I came across, and then I fell in love with it. I actually really, really liked it, and I still do. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, how long have you been doing it?
So I graduated college in 2020, so about 3 years now.
Okay, and you're still loving it. That's awesome.
I do.
And it sounds like, I think you have mentioned that your hours are more daytime hours too, right? So you have a more flexible daytime schedule.
It does. It depends on which modality you go into. I'm very lucky to work in a private office. So I'm able to work. We have a Monday through Friday day shift schedule with no weekends, no holidays. So I'm very fortunate for that. There are some like different modalities. Like if you did just work in the hospital, that you could work like holidays, weekends, overnights. But I got lucky to get one of the day shift Monday through Friday ones.
That's cool. And you mentioned that you travel for your job too, right?
I do. I travel 1 day a week. We do the injections that I do the X-rays during we have 3 offices. I do them mainly in Wilkes-Barre, and then we have an office down in Bethlehem. So I travel down there to work with another doctor to do the same thing, but just in a different office.
Okay. So that gives you a little flexibility, or not flexibility, but just make things a little different 1 day a week where you're out in a different office and see other people. Yeah. That's nice as well. Okay. So this is a silly question, but is there a secret, like behind the scenes type of thing about this type of job that would surprise people, do you think?
I think, honestly, how many doors it like opens for you in the medical field. Even me going into it, I only knew the kid in the ER with the broken arm getting X-rays kind of thing. I didn't know you can go into surgeries where you do X-rays during surgeries to make sure they place plates correctly, and all different types of surgeries. You could do travel tech where you travel and get different contracts at hospitals and work there for a certain amount of time and then move on to the next place. And you also need your X-ray tech license and everything to move on to like doing CAT scans and MRIs and radiation therapy. All of that stems off of the actual X-ray degree, which I didn't know was a thing even.
No, I wouldn't know that either. That's really neat though, that that one step that you took to get the certification opens up so many other doors that you could explore. And you mentioned already, like if you're the type of person who likes to work nights, working in a hospital in the ER where that kid's coming in, right? Or in the operating room or in a private office like you are. I mean, that's kind of cool that there's just so many options for you.
Yeah, there's a ton of options, different things you could do that I didn't even know going into it was a thing, which is really great.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool because, I mean, you're young, so you've got, your whole career ahead of you that could, in another 10 years, could look completely different from what you're doing right now, just from
Absolutely.
growth in the field. So that's cool. That's really cool. So you mentioned college and you mentioned the certification. So what kind of education is required for this type of role, and what kind of certifications, and do you have to do like an ongoing certification and that type of thing?
So I went to a 2-year college. I went to Johnson College in Scranton. All you need to be an Xray Tech is an associate's degree in radiologic technology. There are 4-year programs also, but there's really no difference other than you get your bachelor's degree instead of your associate's. I chose the 2-year because I already did 1 year of school. I didn't want to do even more on top of that. And you don't really need the bachelor's, but after you pass all of your classes in college, you go on to, and you have to take your board exam to get your licensure. And with that, it's just a 220 question test that you have to pass in order to get certified with the state.
Okay.
After you do that, you're licensed and you are part of the board of national certifications of Xray Techs. And every 2 years, you have to get 24 continuing education credits and submit them to that.
Okay.
And that just keeps up with your licensure, just to make sure you're staying up with any new developments in the field or anything like that. And just every year you have to pay a fee just to renew your license, but only every 2 years you have to do the continuing education. One of the new things that they came out with the year I graduated college, actually, of course, is every 10 years you have to retake your boards. But if you fail it, you don't lose your license. It just tells you, it breaks it down after this time and tells you what you need to work on, and then you have to do those specific continuing educations at that point.
Oh, so it's kind of seeing where if there might be any gaps in what you know after 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Now that test, that 220 question test, is it like multiple choice, or is it like practical, like hands-on type of testing?
So it's on the computer. You go to a testing, personally, we used Pearson VUE to go. It's a testing center up by Montage, actually, where you go. They register you to take the exam, and then they sit you down at a cubicle, and it's all on the computer. They give you a calculator, pen and paper. They give you everything. But some of them are little videos, and you have to it's mainly multiple choice. Some of them are fill in the blank. Some of them are choose which image is correct. But they're all, it differs for every single test.
Now, you mentioned a calculator. Is there a lot of math involved?
Surprisingly, yes, in a way. We learn a lot about the generators of the actual X-ray machine, just because you have to learn that for part of the board exam. And during the exposures, there's some physics behind how all of it works and how much radiation dosage the patient is receiving and all that kind of stuff that you can kind of calculate all of that. It's all pretty much equations though that they give you, so you just have to know what you're looking for. Numbers wise,
plug in the numbers into the formula and then
so it's not too bad.
Okay. That's really interesting, because I don't know that people would think necessarily that math would play an important role, but it sounds like the safety of the patient is at risk if you haven't done those calculations.
A lot of the time, it's with how advanced technology is now, I wouldn't have to sit there. I've never used one of the equations at my job. It's more so if you're going to a really small company that you do your own management of the machine itself, then you would use it. Or if you went into the physics part of it itself, because you could be a physicist just for X-ray equipment. I've never used it. The computers kind of do it on its own at this point, but it is something that they still put on the boards. I wouldn't be surprised if it got eliminated at some point, because when I took my boards, they no longer taught film, how you used to see the actual films of X-rays. because they don't use it. It's all Wi-Fi now, so
yeah, because everything's on the computer now, so you don't need to have that paper that they slap up on the wall, right, over the light. You can see where the part is broken. Oh,
yeah, they don't teach that anymore.
Huh. Well, I mean, again, like another 10 years, right? Like you said, who knows what will be different in the technology and all of that at that point. So that's really interesting. So tell me about a typical day in the life. Like, who do you interact with? What are the kinds of things that you're doing on a daily basis? You gave us an idea of that, but a little more detail. What do you do every day?
So where I'm at now, if it's a day that I'm doing the injections, I actually draw up the contrast media, which is just medicine that makes shows up on X-rays. Instead of being like a clear liquid, it shows up as like black on the X-ray, so you could see where you're putting medicine in. So I draw all that up for the amount of patients we're going to have that day. And then I get the patients positioned on the table, make sure they're comfortable. And then I hold the other medicines up for the doctor to draw the medicines out into the syringes. And then I do the imaging during the exam. So he'll be injecting like your lower back, let's say, for pain relief. And I'm taking live X-rays while he's doing that, just to make sure he's going into the right place. And then he puts that contrast media in, and we make sure we're in the right place, and we get the imaging done. And then we send the patients on their way. So I do a lot of like medication prepping the patient, and then taking the images during the exam. So I do a lot of hands-on with the doctor himself. We're very close because we work together like every single day, all day. So that's pretty much what I do where I'm at now. When I was an actual, like in the field Xray Tech at a hospital, you interact with everybody in the hospital, doctors, nurses, all the other X-ray techs, anybody else, like surgeons. And you would get the order of what the doctors wanted. You would position the patient in order to get the right images, and then you would send them to the doctor to get read. So that's pretty much the day in the
Oh, that's awesome. No, that sounds interesting. And again, another kind of surprise. I wouldn't think as an X-ray tech that you would be dealing with medications, right? Like, but in your area with what you do specifically, it's part of your job. So
I'm at the point now with the doctor that I work with. I know what he uses for each exam, because you could use different medicines for different things. So I already have it like all lined up for the day, pretty much, of what medication he's going to need all day long. So you gain like really good knowledge in different fields that you didn't even, like you said, think you would need to know as an X-ray tech. But I have a lot of like pharmacology knowledge now too, because I deal with medications on like all the time. Awesome. So I guess the last question I have for you is, if there was a student who was interested in going into this field, what advice would you give them? I say just go for it and do your best. It's going to seem very difficult in school. Everything in school seems a lot harder than actually just doing it once you're actually in the field. Clinical is very overwhelming. You do like clinical experience to get hands-on learning, and you just absorb every single thing that you're doing in clinic and treat that time in clinic as your job interview, because you never know where you're going to end up. And they help you a lot, help you learn everything that you need to know. And if you just prove to them that you're willing to learn, it helps you a really long way in the medical field.
I bet. I think that's probably good advice for anybody going into any field, right? Open to learning and open to taking advice from people and all of that. I mean, that's just good advice in general. All right. Well, Miranda, thank you so much for sharing this information with us today. It sounds really interesting. We wish you luck in your career, as wherever it ends up going over the course of your time. And we really just appreciate all the information that you shared. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.